I don't really want you on my knee though.
All right, I think we're ready to start, Anne.
Okay, thank you very much, Caitlin. So welcome everybody to community board meeting, staff and members of the public, and anyone else who is looking in on this meeting. Welcome to the first meeting of the Greytown Community Board in 2022. I hope it's going to be a good year. Under the red traffic light system, this meeting is being held via audio video conference. All members participating via audio video conference will count for the purpose of meeting the quorum in accordance with clause 25B of Schedule 7 to the Local Government Act of 2002. The meeting is being live streamed to Council's YouTube channel. It will also be recorded, and subject to the recording being suitable quality, will be made available on Council's YouTube channel via the link on the Council website. We've already welcomed Amanda, so we will press on to extraordinary business. Is there any extraordinary business that needs to be added to the agenda? No? Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any apologies? I have an apology from Rebecca, who's not feeling well, so she will not be attending the meeting tonight. And Alistair's just told me that the mayor will be late. He's obviously apologised for the fact that he'll be 15 minutes late. And I think that's it. So I move that the apology from Rebecca be received. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Alistair. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Nobody against. Conflicts of interest. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest to declare with regards to any item on the agenda this evening? Okay, thank you. Welcome, Russell.
Thank you. Welcome to you too.
Acknowledgement and tributes. Does anyone have any acknowledgements or tributes that they would like to make? Okay, all right. And we have no public participation this evening. So we can go straight on to community board minutes. Okay, the first item on my chair's agenda is the resignation of Shelley Symes as deputy chair. This was put in good time, so we can accept the resignation this evening. I'd like to offer my thanks to Shelley for her hard work over the last 2.5 years as deputy chair. She's been a superb deputy chair. So thank you, Shelley.
Thank you very much. Can I just...
Sorry, Madam Chair, are we doing the minutes first or before your report? I thought that's what you said.
I'm looking back, and it looks as if
we just have to pass them as correct from last meeting.
That's right. The community board minutes have been brought forward, so it looks like. Am I right about that? We're doing them now. But you're right. I mean, we normally take the previous minutes, so I'm happy to do that. Do we want to do that first of all? Now the minutes are presented for correction only, so we'll take the minutes now. Are there any corrections to either of the minutes presented this evening? So do I have a mover for the minutes of the Greytown Community Board Meeting of the 24th of November to be confirmed as true and correct? Do I have a mover for that?
I wasn't there for the whole meeting, so I don't think I should move.
Okay, well, somebody's got to move it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And the seconder? From somebody who was at that meeting? Thank you, Alistair. So moved from Shelley and seconded by Alistair. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. So I'll now move to the chairperson's report. Do I have a mover to receive the chairperson's report? Thank you. And a seconder. So moved Shelley and seconded Simone. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. All those against? Okay, that is carried. Now I will speak to the chair's report. Can I find it? I'm confused now. Okay, so again, I'm going to thank Shelley for the time that she has spent as my deputy and the hard work that she's done. Second on the agenda is the murals for Greytown Memorial Hall. They have been completed and they've been completed on the budget. So we have a saving on the budget. And as I've said before, they're in my front bedroom at the moment, waiting to be collected. So hopefully next week we'll have them put up at the swimming pool. And I think that they'll be a real asset because they're very bright, very friendly. And I'm sure the kids will love them. Updated costs for the signs at the Europa and the Papal Weinman. Now, the costs have increased from when the original estimates were made some 4 years ago. I have had discussion with Simone from Papal and the chair and other members from Papal Marai. I've also had discussions with Paul, and although Paul was ready to move ahead with the sign for Europa, we've decided to hold back because we've decided that it would be better if the two signs came out together and the same colours and the same prints were used for both signs. It's also been suggested that we look at the signage that was done in Stellarville Park. That was a job that was really well done. And although the costs were greater for that, it was a really very good job. I think Loaders actually did the structural part of that. And then we've got the architect's design, which will have to go back to the architect, so that will cost us a little bit more. And we've got LJ's work that will need to be done in terms of the printing. So all in all, I'm thinking that if we move towards a much better project, it's going to cost us about 9,000. We have 4,000, that will be an extra 5,000. But that will mean that we have a sign that sits very nicely with other signs that have recently been put up in Greytown. I've talked to Heritage, they're very keen for us to move ahead so that we have a similar structure to the sign as the ones that they have obtained. What do you think, members?
Anne?
Yes?
Yeah, I think it's good to have something that is consistent all the way through. So I'm prepared to, well, I'm interested in what these signs would look like and the designs, etc. So I'm interested in other people's points of view.
Simone?
Yeah, I think when we spoke with the marae the other day, it was about having the consistency of the signs from town, so that, and then with the cycleway coming down, it sort of connects us all up together. And having consistency was something that they'd never really thought about, but when I sort of showed them the different signage in town, the Heritage Trust signs, and trying to keep everything the same, they were sort of in favour of that as well. So I think we're all sort of now on the same page. and we're looking at probably Easter weekend to unveil those signages. So we're nearly there, and it was just sort of coming back and sort of asking for a bit more money to actually get the job done. So yeah,
Paul was quite happy to review his signs and to align them with the work that the Papal, the committee at Papal Weinman have done. And you know, we're going to have a much more polished outcome if we wait and we spend the extra money. We've got lots of money in the beautification fund. It's not a problem, and I think that it's worth doing that. So I'm quite keen to move forward. Bryce, you wanted to say something?
Or Alistair can go if you like, Alistair.
Yeah, and look, you saw my comments, and thank you for sending it to the chair of the Murray Standing Committee. It's really important that committee sees it. I'm not sure that getting a response back in 10 minutes or 15 minutes, however, was very, very quick. It actually went to the committee, and the last thing we want to do is not have the Murray Standing Committee have a view on it, just for consistency across the district. And I know Papal Mariah's been involved, but I think when things like this come up, the last thing we want to do is do something and then it comes up in the Murray Standing Committee that we weren't consulted. And I just think, and I know there's a time frame, so perhaps we just go back to the chair and say, please put it in front of the committee, because we want to make sure that we just don't get any comeback on it, just for the sake of a little bit of time. I'd be interested in your comments, Bryce, on that.
Oh, sorry, yes, my comments were, have you taken into the consideration the cost of installing those signs? And why I say that is council paid for the last ones because they were put on Stella Ball Park and our property at the front of the trail there. Because they're engineered and structurally designed signs, it was around $1,700 per sign to install.
Right.
So just letting you know, you might say it's $9,000, but to have them installed is expensive.
We do have a builder, Paul Salve, who's used to obviously concrete and installing structures. So I'm hopeful that will bring down the cost because he will do the concrete.
We used, so basically the Heritage New Zealand crew used the handyman in Greytown. Because they're structurally built signs, they have to be probably around 600 or 700 deep by about 1.5 across, steel and the concrete. It's quite a substantial job, and Graham knows what that's like for the cost of stuff like that. So just be aware of that. You just can't dig 2 holes and plonk it in the ground. You'll see that.
I'll get Paul to talk to you because he will be our local expert. But you know, we're not going to move ahead until we're sure that we've got it right. I've got some costs because I've been talking to Vivian because she was in charge of sign indelible part. And she reckons the LGA loader engineering costs were 3,340. GST.
That's not installing it.
No, that's not installing it. That is just the actual structure itself. So I'm thinking that maybe we put 4,000. Lampeter's signage, their signage work was 1,666. And again, I thought maybe 2,000 we put aside for that because costs always increase. So those will be our big costs, apart from obviously the costs of sinking and the concreting. I'll come back to you on that, Bryce, because I'll talk to Paul. Maybe that Paul thinks, no, he doesn't have time to do it. But if they were prepared to do it, that would significantly reduce our costs.
Okay, giving you a warning. Thank you.
No, okay, and thank you for that, because I do know that that's got to be taken into account. And I think there was some initial problem with the work that was done in Stella Ball about how they were going to sink it and what needed to happen. So we'll take that on board. The design fees, Joe Lycett is going to have to redo them. So that will increase her cost because we want them to be in both the signs to be in line. So we're going back to her to have another look. So I think we'll be lucky to get it done in April. I'm thinking more May, June by the time we put everything together. But I mean, the main issue is we'll get it done this year before the end of our trimester. And we'll have a good product at the end of it that will look good and that will be a real asset to the community. This point in time, I'm asking that we put another 5,000 in the pot. Graham, sorry.
I'd like to ask Bryce, was there plans done for the signs to be erected?
Yes, it came with the architectural plans that were done by the architect. Yep, and it was engineered, signed off. Graham. They actually bolt the steel that goes into the concrete, attached to runners in the concrete, and the sign actually sits down on top of the bolts and it's bolted down. So it's quite a lot of work in that. They're extremely, you've seen the size of them, but they're extremely heavy. So it's you're talking about the apple orchard and stuff like that, aren't you? And the same one in the Stellarville Park. Yeah. They're very heavy and big. They act like a sail, so they can't tip over and hit someone. So they're really well built into the ground.
Well, I'd be interested to have a look at the drawings to see what's involved.
I'll leave it to you guys. I'll just giving you a heads up because it gives some costs.
Okay. Yeah. So do we have to get all that work, design work done then, or will we just use what you used at Stellarville Park?
The actual signs were 1,800 by 1,200. The Cotter Street and the apple orchard signs. I don't think that ours will be much different to that, but I mean, we could just have the 1,800 by the 1,200 to have it the same, to make sure. And then it's a case of contacting Loader in terms of them doing the steel work on that. So I think if you and Paul could get together and talk about that, that would be good. And then maybe get back to Bryce on that.
Okay. Oh, you can keep me in the picture. I'd be interested to have a look at it and keep the cost down.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Any
other comments?
So, and can I take it you're going to speak to the Maori Standing Committee chair again and get it put on their agenda?
We'll speak to them again once it's completed, but we want to make sure that we have both Europa and the.
So what do you mean once it's completed?
Because we're waiting for we're waiting for the wording to be completed for both signs, right? Once that's done, it will go to Jo Lysett, the architect, for her to actually show visually what will happen. I think there's an idea that we might be able to cut down the costs because we do have a tech guy out at the Marae, don't we, Simon, who thought that he might be able to do some visual artwork for us.
Yeah, why is it going to Māori Standing Committee again? Sorry?
Because everything that has an influence on iwi goes through the Maori Standing Committee.
Hasn't it already been there though?
No.
Yeah, no, it has been to the Maori Party. And the response I had from the Maori Standing Committee was that she thought that the committee from the Marae would be all over it, and she was quite happy to leave the decisions to them.
Yeah. So it should be. Yeah, that's fine.
Well, my only concern with that was, as I outlined to you, Anne, was that was the comment from the chair, and there are other members on the Maori Standing Committee who may have a different view to that, and they haven't been approached. So I don't know. Well, I see Alex is here. What's the protocol here, Alex?
Sorry. I would unfortunately agree that it needs to be tabled as a line agenda item to confirm the view of the chair from the standing committee. The chair is merely the voice of the committee. Yeah, so I would, but it doesn't need to be a big and convoluted. It's more of a tabling of a note that this is occurring, and they can give the nod pretty quickly.
Yeah, well, they certainly did that the last time I approached them. But Simon, I mean, we can do that. They'll just send that straight away and tell us that they're happy with it. In fact, the response I had last time was that they were very thankful that Greytown Community Board was actually putting money into the marae.
I'm sure they are, but I just want to make sure that we've ticked everything off so it doesn't come back on us.
Yeah.
It's just the right protocol and process to follow.
We can do that again. It's not a problem. It's not a biggie. Yeah. I'm more concerned that both the committee at the Europa and the committee at the marae work together so that we get something that is approved by both of them, and that the final product is good and that we move forward on that. Yeah. So, right. At this point in time, what I'm asking for is that we put 5,000 in the kitty to enable this work to proceed.
That's out of the beautification budget.
Out of the beautification budget. Do I have a mover for that? Okay, Alistair moves and Simon seconds. All those in favour, please say aye. Anyone against? Thank you. That motion is passed. Okay, updates on spending from the beautification budget. I did ask members to give feedback on ideas received. I know it went on Facebook and it also went in the grapevine. Have you had any responses in terms of ideas for spending?
Yeah, the only idea I saw was saying give it to Featherstone.
All right, I think we can do it. I did have a response.
I did take that comment in tongue in cheek, I thought.
I did have a response from somebody who's very, very keen on the skate park to say, could we give funding for that? We can't give funding for that. However, we could give funding towards the landscaping.
Yeah.
And,
I think there might be murals and things that could be done at the skate park later on down the track. So maybe we just keep it aside there, because there might be some beautification things to do and once it's in. But we're talking probably a year away from that, so it'll be carrying over at least a year, isn't it, Bryce? Yeah.
Yeah, at least a year, I think, Alistair. Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure of the procedure to do this. Would they have to set up a charity for the money to be put into?
The initial thoughts are that so council have approved $1 million over 3 years. That's not going to do the whole project. We know that. Bryce is getting some indicative pricings on the roading side, and an indication of what the pricing could be in the ballpark of the plans that have been shown to the public in the library. We hope to be able to get starting a consent process relatively soon, so that we can then go out and consult with affected parties, and that's going to be the consultation that will be occurring is with the affected parties in the area. I confirmed with Harry that it's not going to be a big consultation across the whole district, because that's actually been done as part of the annual plan and the long-term plan. So it's now the consultation with affected parties as part of the consenting process. That'll give us an indication of what sort of dollars we're looking at over the 3 years. And I've spoken to Sid about this, and there will definitely be a need for some fundraising within the community. And it's a pretty good project for the community to get behind, given the support for it.
It's an excellent project, and the community board have been behind this project right from the start. I'm just wondering if there's some way that, this year we could put some money aside for it, and next year we could put money aside for it, so that it builds up over a period of years. But I'm not so sure that the council will just want it to sit in a fund. I think it would have to be in a separate fund.
Well, I suppose the council wouldn't be too keen to sort of, you know, if it's earmarked, it can be rolled over so long as Katrina knows about it and it's in the books, because we've done that in the past. But I think we need to follow that step by step so we know what we're in for first, and let Bryce do the work to find out the sort of ballpark figures, get the consenting process, because we're probably at least a year away from the beautification side. I would imagine. What
do you think, Bryce?
Oh yeah, Nalis is right. So what I'm trying to do is I've asked Pope and Grey to give us a quote on the roading. This will enable us to know exactly how much money we have to actually spend on the what I call the backbone of the park, and that way we can work on that as well at the same time. So we get something in the ground for the park, and then we go through the fundraising process, or things might change as we go forward with council. So that's the plan. Everything will need to go to tender anyway. So there's a tender process involved in this, the council policy.
Oh. Yeah, so in your view, it would be too early for us to put 3,000.
Oh no, let's look, if people want to donate, it's probably for you guys, yeah, it's probably a bit early, but if people want to donate stuff, they can start doing it somehow. Yeah. You know, look the Wahanga Centre, for instance, they had probably 3 or 4 items donated from different groups as in equipment. You know, the tower, Plunkett did something, the Lions did something, Powerco did something. So, you know, we got a lot out of that park for minimal money.
Right, okay. Maybe I'm going to park this for now to ask for more clarification on it. We agree?
We hope to be in a position to put out some information to the public in a sort of ballpark time frame soon. There is a subcommittee that's involves Bryce, myself, Garrick, and Sid, and Shield, so that we can actually start working through a time frame, so that we can get a bit of information out to the public, a bit of good news about where we're heading. I'm sure people are wondering what's going on. Sid's done a great job of showing the designs, or the design, following the consultation with the schools and the various youth groups around. He's only had nothing but positive comments to all that, so there's very little change, if any, in the park design itself for the equipment that's come back, or suggestions. So it's been very popular and really well received from being up in the library for about 3 months now, isn't it, Bryce? Yeah, I think. So he's had quite a bit of feedback from the community on it, which has been great.
Right, well, I'm only following up on the one suggestion that we had about using money from the beautification budget, but it looks as if it's too early for us to do that. So unless there are any other suggestions to use the beautification fund. Right, I'll park that suggestion and we'll move on for now. Councillors' reports. Alistair, do you have anything to report?
No, nothing more than what I've just said.
Right, I'll move to item 6, the flower tubs on the main street. Now, the maintenance of the flower tubs for this year is the responsibility of the Greytown shop owners. In the event that the tubs are not well maintained, I've looked into the removal of the tubs. If they are to remove, costs would fall on the Greytown Community Board. Council do not want to remove the tubs. So if they are to be removed, a suggestion would be to advertise the tubs for sale at a nominal amount via to collect, with the preference given first to shop owners to purchase. I'd suggest that we leave that decision until the end of the summer, autumn, have a look to see what the state of the tubs are, whether they can continue to be maintained, or whether we really have to get the shop owners to take them on, or to give them away. Graham?
Has the Little Theatre been approached if they would maintain the one that's outside what's their building now, which was St John's Hall?
No, the Little Theatre, no.
Was it? Yeah.
No, the Little Theatre haven't. They do need to be contacted because they now obviously own that.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. No, I'll take it.
Do you want me to do it or you want to do it?
No, I'd be grateful if you could do it, Graham. We'll check
Okay.
that with my hands.
Yeah, I'll have a talk to John.
Did you have a talk about any of the others?
Well, the only other one that's an issue that I'm aware of is the one in front of Stellable Park.
Yeah,
Yeah, the others seem to be maintained.
yeah. And were you going to have a look to see if that could be moved?
Well, yeah, it would have to be emptied out to be moved. You can't move it. I did have a look at what sort of machine you would take to move them with the soil all in them, and it would have to be a reasonable size front end loader, something of that sort. Otherwise, it just empty the soil out.
Oh, all right.
And so that's actually a thought to approach the people that own the business in the old library, see if we could move it along in front of there, if they'd be interested in looking after it.
Not easy to move.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So are we in agreement that we leave it till autumn and then we'll make the decision then about whether it continues as it is or whether we see if the shopkeepers would actually like to have the tubs and to maintain them as their own tubs?
Yeah, I'll support that.
Okay, we'll move forward on that basis then. Extension of cemetery. We haven't had feedback on plans to extend the Greytown Cemetery. Bryce, do you know anything about this?
All the road's in. So the new road is in. I'm sure you've been down and had a look at it. I hope you have. Again, the company did a nice job of that. We are actually about to start moving into the Greytown into the new area. We're getting some beams put in already because we've completely run out in Greytown, particularly we're not doing walls anymore. Talking to other cemetery users as well as Wairarapa Headstones and Peter Giddens from Carterton. The walls, earthquake prone, they get a bit messy, untidy, plaques fall off. It's something that a lot of the cemeteries now going away from that. So they're doing little beams that hold your ashes buried in the ground. That's the latest thing from cemeteries. And we're actually having to move into that area already. So this year we'll be looking at planting a lot of trees in there as soon as the planting season starts. We've already planted, obviously the Greytown Community Board paid for the trees going down the right-hand side of the main drive. We've put in another 16, I think, or 14 trees on the left-hand side to match that, to have an avenue as you go down. Yeah, so that's where we're at the moment. There's still a lot of work to go in there.
Glenn, did you want to ask any questions on that? Because you did ask if Greytown Community Board could see the plans.
At this stage, we don't have any plans. We're just going on because it's a narrow strip, Graham, we're basically the road's gone down the middle. We've made the road wide enough that two cars can just pass or pull over. But we're trying to keep the beams at an even side either side. I'm more than happy to meet you down there next week if you want to have a look. I've taken the advice from Peter Giddens and Carterton on how to do this.
All right, Graham, would you like to go down and have a look?
Yeah, I have been down there 2 or 3 times in the last few months, unfortunately. So I'm pretty.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, don't you? So where where you come in from the existing cemetery at the northern end, we're going to extend the garden a little bit wider there, so it gives to make a nice garden. There's already a garden there, so we're just going to extend it a little bit deeper, and then start the beams, so you get a nice break in between, and start the beams that way down. We'll also designate a natural area for natural burials, which is coming into the burial side of things with natural burial. So that's just something we've got to identify where the best area for that will be.
I was disappointed the last time I went down just before Christmas. The planting on the south side of the entrance gates was weeds quite high.
Oh, mate, you don't look. Graham, I can give you this. I sat down with our current contractor 2.5 weeks ago before I went away, and we had a heart-to-heart talk on what we expect.
Yeah.
And you will find the cemeteries will be up to a real high standard from now on.
Right.
They've taken me to Martinborough to show me, because it was the nearest one to go to, and they've done Featherstone, and I'm sure they've already done Greytown.
Right. Okay.
And
I was
I'll
actually
double
going to-
check that, because I've been getting into them.
I was actually going to do it myself. I was just going to go down there.
No, don't, mate.
You can
Don't.
do it
It's
up
not
there.
your job. We're paying
No,
someone to
yeah.
do this, so
Yeah.
we'll make sure they do it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Passing on to number 8, new roads in Greytown. Has anybody had any suggestions for names for new roads?
No.
No. When I went out to the Marae to meet with the committee there, Simon, we did discuss the possibility of the Marae coming up with some names, didn't we? And they said they'd look at this. They were quite interested.
I think the location of the new subdivisions can give us sort of some guidance. Yeah, there is the location. There might be something significant in that area, and yeah. But personally, I would like to stay away from naming it after a family or after an individual. I think that. Personally, I don't like that. I'd rather use what, if there's something significant in that area where the subdivision is, or if a Maori name can be brought in, because there is pockets of around town where there is significance to the Maori community, and so until we know where these subdivisions are, that's my view.
Well, I'm hopeful that the Papal and White will do some research on that and maybe come back with us for some ideas. The other alternative would be maybe to advertise in the Grapevine and the Greytown Community Board page of the SWDC website for suggestions for suitable new names to add to the approved list. But do we want to do that, or shall we wait?
No, I wouldn't suggest, I wouldn't support that, because we could get all sorts of names from, I think, like, maybe put it out to like Heritage Trust or somebody else who have done a bit of research, and also the Marae. I know there are land blocks in town that are really significant to the local iwi, so I think allowing time for that to happen now that it's being asked of them. So yeah, and organisations like Heritage Trust who have got a bit of historical knowledge. If we just put it in the Grapevine, we could be getting Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck. So, again, it's sort of like having some authenticity about naming our town for development.
So I'll approach Heritage and we'll wait for the Marae to come back with some ideas for those new subdivisions. We agreed on that?
It sort of strikes me that every subdivision and roading that's occurred in the last couple of years, it seems to be the developer that comes up with a name that's certainly not on the list, and then we go through a rigmarole of actually getting them to justify it. I think having a list of names, we're still going to be in exactly the same boat, because they won't like any of the names that have come up, and we'll still be sending them back and say do it again anyway. So a lot of work for no effort, I think.
Oh, I don't know.
What's your suggestion, Alistair?
Well, I think at the time, when people come up with names, maybe we say, you've got to actually do the work at that time to come up with something that's suitable. So they need to liaise with Heritage, they need to liaise with Papal at the time, because a lot of the time it's going to be location specific.
Yes, yeah.
Well, that's what we're suggesting, that we liaise with Heritage and with Papal to see if we can come up with names that are significant. So,
well, but if you do that, then somebody's going to say, oh, I'm going to put this name in that street and it's going to be in the wrong place. So the point being that it's going to still go round in circles, that we've been going around in circles. Probably better to say to the developer at the time, when he's put his consent in, that the council say you need to speak to Heritage and to Papal, given the location of it and the sensitivities, and come up with names that are suitable at that time.
other comments?
No, I support Alison. Yeah, it's like when the subdivisions come forward, we make the decision. Well, we have our input then. Yeah.
Alex
Yeah,
has
and
got
I
his hand
think
up.
that puts it back on them thinking around significance and authenticity. Yeah.
Sure, definitely. Yeah.
I support that also.
Yeah, so we'll leave it for when the subdivisions come online. And then
Alex has got
we'll-
his hand up. And
Sorry?
Alex has got his hand up.
Alex, sorry. Alex?
Yeah, if I could
I think it's frozen.
I think you might be a bit too far away there.
Desire rather than having to bounce backwards and. Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can I suggest that goes through to back to council to firm up the road naming policy, so that at the time of application, acceptable options are given rather than it bouncing backwards and forwards when they're unacceptable. Just firm that up according to those comments you've made tonight.
So just make a point that Councillor Plummer raises the component of relevance and that the process can be quite protracted. So that encouragement has already been given to developers on an individual basis of proposals. So that element is in play. What the mystery element, of course, is the willingness and the thinking skills of developers to think of relevant names or take on the consideration and do their sort of filtered thinking in terms of coming up with something that's appropriate. So you've got the mystery element of willingness and good thinking in the mix, as well as the time component that Councillor Plummer mentions.
Yeah, and I think the subdivision at Moiki was a good example of that. So once they understand that whole kaupapa, I think they do come around. So that was a good example of what we're trying to establish here.
That's right. However, that took a long time because it went backwards and forwards. It would be good, hence we know that those developments are coming online, to have some ideas that we can talk, or a list of some appropriate names for the developer to look at. Amanda?
Kia ora, sorry, my thing wouldn't come off mute very easily. Just in a policy context, there is a road naming policy that I think it's up for review. I believe it's on the review list. The other thing that's happening that might be able to support this work is that we're looking into the recruitment of a role, principal advisor Māori, or an iwi liaison role that's sometimes been talked about. And I'd see potentially part of that person's role being able to help facilitate some of these conversations as well in this context.
Okay, thank you. So it would seem to be the view of the majority that we leave it until these developments come online and then we look to see. Yeah?
Yes.
With the developer, what names are appropriate. Yeah? Okay, good, thank you. Moving to the student representative, I have approached the college, but I haven't heard back from them. So at the moment, we don't have a student representative, but they will look for one and I'll get back to them. And I think that's it on my report.
Okay.
We're now moving to number 991. The Underhill Road report. Do I have a mover to receive the assessment of the need to rename Underhill Road report?
Yep.
Thank you. Moved Shelley and seconded by Simon. All those in favour, please raise their hands. Anyone against? Motion is carried. Do I have a mover to note the assessment and the need to rename all or part of Underhill Road report by Armstrong Dixon Limited? Yeah? Shelley, seconded by Graham. Thank you. Those in favour, please raise their hands. Thank you. Now, do we have a council officer who wants to speak to the report? Russell, did you want to speak to the report? No? Does anyone want to speak?
Probably Steph, maybe.
Steph?
Hi, Anne. Hi,
Hi. Your new role.
I am my new role. So this report really just reports back on the outcome investigation that we had asked Armstrong Dixon Limited to do at the board's request to look into the need to rename Underhill Road. And so you'll see in the attachment there's information around consultation that has been undertaken with emergency and postal services to look into the original complaint that had been put in. That was back in 2019, I believe, so a bit of time has passed since then. So I think investigation just to check in and see if that's still the position we're in was a good idea. I think you'll read from the report that Armstrong Dixon Limited has found that there is a preference towards retaining the status quo. It looked like there had been internal issues that had been resolved. And so the suggestion from that was to consult with residents to establish whether a name change would be supported and result in a clear benefit to the community. And we also wanted to give the option at this point whether the board might want to think, is there still a compelling reason to actually pursue this investigation given the findings? So that's up for consideration by the board, and happy to take any specific questions if there are any.
Alistair.
Yeah, I find this process just unbelievable when, and just a complete and utter waste of money when all we were after was a little bit of clarification between the Underhill Road on the southern part of the river and Underhill Road on the northern part of the river. I don't see it as a naming change. It's just a guidance. Underhill Road South, Underhill Road North would have solved this and wouldn't have cost a cent or very little. And I just find this whole report a bureaucratic two-step. It hasn't solved anything at all. And the residents still believe they all want to stay Underhill Road. They just want to know that they're Underhill Road on the southern side of the river and Underhill Road on the northern side of the river. It is actually as simple as that.
I understand the frustration. I think to have that clarity around the north or south requires that the process to be followed, the policy is in place. Unfortunately, we do have to go through the correct procedures and processes.
So
I get the impression the wrong questions have been asked. I thought that report was just not worth the paper it was written on, actually.
Anybody else? I must admit, I think that we're spending an awful lot of money for something that we could have done with pencil and paper and got answers to very quickly just by talking to the residents. But however, this is policy, and if we have to go down this road, then do we consult with residents to see if they want a name change? Because that's what we're being asked.
Yeah, and I think we do, because I don't think their issues have been resolved.
No.
It may well be that their issues on the fire brigade and the ambulance may have been resolved, but it hasn't resolved the issues of the people that brought it up in the beginning, which are the people that live on those roads. And it's really important that we say we're not anticipating changing the name of the road to anything except with a brackets or however you want to do it, south or north. That's it. It's actually not rocket science. It's still Underhill Road. It's just saying you're on the northern side of the river, so you go up through Greytown, or you're on the southern side of the river and you go through Featherston. Because no matter how long we stand here, there's not going to be a bridge across it that you can drive a vehicle across. So.
Okay, do I have a mover to agree that residents and owners of Underhill Road be consulted to determine if a road name change would be supported and result in a benefit to the community?
Yeah.
Alistair and Shelley seconded. Those in favour, please raise your hands. Do we have anyone against? Okay, then that is passed. So we'll be consulting with the residents. Okay. So 9.2, elected members code of conduct report. Do I have a mover to receive the report? Shelley, and the seconder, Simone. Thank you. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. Anyone against? No.
Can I say something, Anne?
Yes.
I've had a read, like we all will have, through this document, and it's helpful, but I'd like to propose that we do two things. We hold our decision over to the next meeting, whether we ratify or change it. And in so doing, it allows us to perhaps meet with our fellow board members, you know, Featherston and Martinborough, so that we can all get together and share an understanding of what's in it, because we all have to live with it. And also it's an opportunity to see not only what's in it, but what is not in it. And we need to look at the implications of what has been written, because, as I said, we have to live with it. There are a few things that come to mind where they state that, you know, like board members are responsible to our electors, but we are bound by decisions of council. And there's no facilitation of, you know, it doesn't facilitate our responsibility to question, to push back on unpopular decisions, which may affect our ward. So if you've got a lot of popular, you know, illies about decisions that have been made, what is in there that gives us a clear direction about how we deal with these things? Because it will happen time and again. And especially if public feeling is strong enough. So there may be some things within this whole document that we've had given to us that need to be discussed and perhaps better understood and clarified. Not necessarily to have a go, but just to clarify. Because, you know, there are expectations of us as a board to represent Greytown, and yet decisions may be made that go against what people expect. And so we kind of feel a bit hamstrung sometimes, maybe. I mean, this is all just open for discussion. But those are just a few things that I noticed when I was reading through the code of conduct, but also, you know, what the expectations are of councillors, ward councillors, but also of board members. So there's a lot in there, and it's open for discussion. But that's what I'd like to propose, is that we meet with our fellow board members elsewhere. Okay?
Now, before we move that, does anybody else want to raise an issue? Bryce? Did you want to say something? No.
So, Shelley, I'd like to understand what your concerns are, because there is a fundamental difference between the councillors and the.
Yes,
yeah, absolutely. And it's very clear in the legislation that community board members are there to advocate for their community, whereas councillors are elected and have to swear to do right by the district. So ward councillors are not accountable to their ward; they are accountable to the whole district, and that's the fundamental difference.
I accept that. That's what we've read. I know that.
When it comes down to advocating on behalf of the community, the issue is actually, how do you know you're advocating on behalf of the community? And that's where it comes down to saying, who are your representatives? So within gaining that knowledge means going out and doing surveys or whatever in a process so that you gain that information. And there's nothing stopping, in this code of conduct, there's nothing stopping community board members advocating on behalf of the community if it's on behalf of the community. It's not, if it's on behalf of one or two people of the community, that's not on behalf of the community. So it's got, so when we're talking representing the community's views, we are talking about having done the research to know what the community's views are, not just the people who you talk to in the street. It's actually, there's a process that goes to that.
That is acceptable. I accept that, but there will still be issues and times when there will be pushback, and whatever the council decides still will raise the hackles of, you know, we've got to sort of think.
Of course it will. Absolutely, of course it will.
Yeah. And so what is there to facilitate? So if we do come across issues like that after research has been done, after consultation has been broadly done, and it still doesn't meet our public's expectation, we're kind of the meat in the sandwich. So, you know, the joys of politics. But I think, you know, it may be useful for the boards to have these discussions, but that's not the only point. There are other things in there that we need to look at to see if everybody understands it the same way, and if there are other things that are not in the document that perhaps could be in the document, and that we can bring back to the table for discussion before ratification. So, you know, it's a good document, it's got a lot in it, it's important, so it needs to be got right, and it needs to be understood well by everybody that it applies to. That's basically where I'm coming from. So,
okay.
Shelley, do you want to put your proposal forward?
I do, yes.
Can you say it again, please?
Oh, yes, that I propose that we do two things, that we hold our decision over until the next meeting, whether we decide to ratify or to change what's been given to us, so that we might meet with our fellow ward members in Featherston and Martinborough to discuss what's in the document and perhaps what may need to be added to the document or changed. And I think because it applies to everybody right across the district, we actually need to have a clear vision. We need to know what we're working with. And so, yeah, let's just do it all together.
Okay, so in a few words then, your proposal is that we do not vote on this time until we have had a chance to communicate with other community boards.
Yeah.
Yeah? So we hold it over to the next meeting. Graham?
I'd just like to add to that, if that is not the wish of the other community boards, I think it should be the wish for us to sit down and go through it, or whether we should do that as well as.
So you are supporting Shelley's proposal?
Yeah.
Okay, for those in favour, can you please show?
Yeah, thank you.
So could I just ask something, that given that this is an agenda item in the public forum, how are you proposing to do this? Because this has to be discussed in a public forum. So are you proposing that the three community boards have a joint public meeting on this issue? Or are you prepared to actually now put your concerns forward so that they get on record to take, so that the other, you know, we're the first of the community boards to be done. But this is a public issue. Yeah. So it needs to be done in public.
No, that's fair call. So we can do it on Zoom if we can get the other board members, you know, in agreement. And
well, there's no facility for combined community board meetings. That's not how our community boards have been set up by government. They are independent. Each community board is independent of the other one.
So they may be, but when we've got a document which is common to all, is it not possible to have a meeting? I mean, we've had meetings with our CEO and with the mayor and all of ourselves with others to say, okay, it's good for us all to get together as three wards occasionally and have some good meetings. Now, I'm open to listening to you. I don't know everything about the process, but surely when it comes to something as important as a document like this, can there not be some flexibility regarding us all being able to get round the table? And yes, do it in public if it can be, if people can Zoom in, do what we're doing now. and actually get people to read it and ask questions about it, have suggestions, whatever, at our level, at the board levels, right across the district.
My understanding is that each community board is statutorily separate from each other. And Amanda will steer me if I'm not right on that. But what I get, you're asking for is to have a workshop and then come back and debate this in public.
Yes, it's all a matter of semantics, but
well, it is and it isn't, because it is a public document and it's a public process to follow.
It is, and that's why it's important that we get it right and that there's a common understanding. So I'm not arguing with you. I'm just trying to find out what is the best way for us all to get together somehow to improve, increase our understanding of it, so that when it is ratified, with any changes, suggestions, whatever, that there's a common understanding across the 3 wards under the South Wairarapa district of what we're actually putting forward, so that we don't have to keep on changing it. Okay? If you do it once, you do it well, and you get everybody.
Amanda.
Sorry, I'm hearing what Alice is saying, and I'm also really carefully listening to your request, Shelley. I'm not sure what the opportunities are in this space. I'd need to go and look at standing orders and just double check what the processes are. Note that standing orders come under the Local Government Act, so it's not just our rules.
I realise
rules, you know, it's the rules of local government. So what I'm suggesting is that I can go and have a look between myself and Caitlin. We can figure out what the opportunities might be to do something like that, whether it is a workshop, does it need to be public, is there any precedent anywhere else?
Thank you, appreciate that. I mean, if you don't ask, you don't get, you know, so I do appreciate that. All right, thank you.
And in the meantime, we're not going to make a decision at this board meeting.
Okay.
We'll wait until our next board meeting to give time for us to discuss amongst ourselves, and maybe, if possible, to have a workshop where we can get together to discuss. Alex, did you want to say something?
Yeah, and there are a couple of issues raised in this. One is it concerned me that have you not had the statutory time to look at this document and make decisions or opinions of your own regarding the proposed community board code of conduct? The second part of this is, and you can probably answer that, but you should have had time to read this and raise issues at this meeting. The second part of this is that we have reacted to comments regarding standing orders, and we have created, at some expense and time, a set of code of conduct that complies with LGNZ requirements and standard practice for community boards. And so you should have some safety net that this conforms with LGNZ. And discussions and increasing or trying to change standing orders to give community boards more power to bind council are unconstitutional. And there is a limit to what you can change these code of conduct to allow you outside of a governance review. So to my mind, by not accepting this, you are retaining the old code of conduct, which we've already agreed is unacceptable. I'm very surprised you don't find this satisfactory given our adherence to LGNZ principles.
Can I answer that? Thank you, Alex. It's not that it's not found satisfactory. I think it is a good document, but there may be elements in it or aspects in it that people will question, not understand. There may not be clarity. There needs to be perhaps the opportunity for people to workshop to find that. And also when we've got options to accept or not accept, it infers, you know, we need to discuss. And so really it is a question of helping people understand more. That's all. Okay? I'm not trying to break the rules, okay? I'm taking advice.
Russell?
Yeah, just reflecting on the different comments made. So the new code of conduct has good intent, so fit for purpose. The other word I'd use is modernised. And the recent consideration that's gone into it is the fact that an issue has been raised for the need for modernisation and raising the standard and making things current. So all that response work has been put into the pot, and the result you see before you is the intended new document to make it modern and current, fit for purpose. So it is certainly robust in that sense.
Can I say something? I accept what you're saying. It is a good document, which I said in the beginning. But the way that we bureaucrats put things together and the way people interpret them can be two different things. And that is part of why I'm saying this. So I'm not having a go at you. You've done a good job. But sometimes it's theory and practice, it's interpretation, it's all those different things. And there needs to be clarity sometimes, or more clarity, or the opportunity for more clarity. People could all get together and say, yep, it's fine, let's do it, boom, finish, great. But sometimes there may be some questions asked. What does this really imply? What does it really mean? What are the implications for us in the future? That's all. So I'm opening the door to enable that. So that's all I'm trying to do, okay?
Thank you. So we just need to look at Madam Chair needs to look at the recommendations contained in the report.
Well, there are two recommendations, whether we adopt the report. Yeah, there's only one, whether or not we adopt the report. And what Shelley is suggesting is that we leave this open until our next meeting to give us time to look at just one or two issues that require clarification. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a fair call. Yeah, or just look at it in general and see that there aren't things that, you know, haven't been raised that might require a bit of clarification. That's all. This is what you do with important documents anywhere in the public service. I mean, for God's sakes, we just give people a chance. People who it applies to, they need to know what it really means for them going forward as well. So it's not a big ask. I'm not asking for people to change the legislation or anything, but there needs to be the opportunity for shared understanding, that's all. Okay, so thank you.
Okay, and Amanda, you would be quite happy to have a workshop just to clarify for one or two issues, yes?
What I said is I'll find out what the process would be.
Yeah.
So what standing orders say about this, if anything, and if there's any precedents, and give you guys some advice on that.
Thank you, Grace.
And if a workshop is the recommended option, then we can go down that route. I just need to find out what the options might be.
So Shelley, would you like to raise the issue of a workshop to clarify? Yes?
That's what is deemed an appropriate format to discuss, to read together, to just go through the points together. I'm happy to raise that as a proposal. But I'll wait until, I think we wait until Amanda does the research that she wants to do so that there is, you know, clarity there as well, because that can help us.
So are you suggesting we make no decision at this meeting?
I suggest we make no decision about ratification and perhaps just propose that, as we are doing now, that the opportunity to workshop this is gone into for us. And so that there's clarity, shared clarity.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder for that? I'm prepared to second it. Okay. Simone is seconding.
Could I just make the point, and that means, Shelley, that you're still bound by the old code of conduct? That's what you're asking for.
That's at the moment. That is what, until we decide to ratify it at the next meeting. You know, we have to be under a code of conduct. But I'm open to what other people think. If people want to workshop it and just, you know, raise any points that there may be, especially what may not be in there that may have been missed out, or they think, what about critical thinking? It's important.
Okay, well, I'd like to propose then that we actually adopt this code of conduct, because given that there was a lot of concern around the table, a lot of angst about the previous code of conduct, and the council reacted to that and has drafted this one. I propose that we adopt this one. In fact, I propose we accept it as Appendix 1, and we note and delegate as per the things.
Okay, thank you. So we've got two motions, right? The first motion was from Shelley to say that we don't pass it this time. We wait to see if there is an opportunity to clarify one or two issues, and that we wait until the next meeting to make our decision. And Simone, were you seconding that? Right. All those in favour of that, please show. Okay, that is passed. So
I'm voting against.
you're voting against that. Okay, thank you. Now, obviously, your motion falls, Alistair. So, okay. Unless there's any other issues, we'll pass on to the next subject.
Can it please be noted in the minutes that passing that motion means we are bound by the community board, that the Greytown Community Board is bound by the old code of conduct, unlike the council, which is bound by the new code of conduct. So it just needs to be noted that you're all aware of that.
Yeah, thank you. So as we haven't adopted it, the other issues really are not taken into account and will be brought up again at our next meeting. So we had two, if adopted, do I have a mover to note the consideration about undischarged bankrupt in the code of conduct, which we won't discuss this time, we'll leave it out until next time. Do I have a mover to delegate to the Chief Executive the authority to make minor grammatical amendments that do not alter the intent of the code of conduct? We'll leave that open to the next meeting as well. Yeah, agreed? Right, thank you. 9.3 financial assistance report. We'll now move on to the financial assistance report. Do I have a mover to receive the application for financial assistance report? Thank you. Graham, and the seconder, Shelley. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. So what does everyone think about the application from Greytown Football Club for a donation of $1,000? Alistair.
Could I just make the note that there is an error on the application. It's not from the Greytown Junior Football Club. It's actually from the seniors. So because if it was from the juniors, we wouldn't be able to do it because we gave them money earlier on in the year.
All right. Well, up here it says the application from Greytown Football Club. So it hasn't. Yeah, but you're saying it was the wrong one. Okay. Can we change that to show that it is the senior football club that is asking for assistance? You agree with that, Alistair?
Yeah, because it's quite critical, because if the application is in the name of the junior football club, we can't proceed with it because we gave them money for the junior goals, if you remember that earlier in the year.
We did.
Late last year.
That's correct. Right. You're sure that it will be spent on training for the senior club, Alistair?
Yeah, look, I'm in favour of this. I think that the way that club has developed in the last 6 months is just amazing, and anything we can do to help them. And unlike me, this is actually about helping young adults and older people. I'm pretty good on the kids, but I'm also very supportive of anyone getting out playing sport.
Okay, so a mover to propose. Do we have a proposer to give 1,000 to support a coaching course for the senior football club?
Sorry, Anne, I thought we were only giving out $500 amounts.
No, we can give up to 1,000. That's been
we
changed.
can. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, shall I say it again? We have a mover to approve granting Greytown Senior Football Club 1,000 to support a coaching course.
Yeah, I do. I support it too. Yeah.
Okay, so Alistair, Right, and secondly, you're supporting Shelley to support. Those in favour, please show. Thank you. All in favour. Right, we now need to set funding round dates for consideration of Greytown Community Board grants in 2022. Bearing in mind that we're not doing an 8-week cycle now, we're doing a 6-week cycle. Just to raise as for discussion, I would suggest maybe we have our funding rounds in March, June, September. Because otherwise we won't get 3 in. March obviously is the next one, but then 2 months to June and then another 2 months to September. Otherwise we leave it till the June one and then you know, nothing happens. For 4 months.
And could I just make a comment on it? That I think it's really important that we perhaps have we decide on funding rounds rather than piecemeal applications that come in, because we are really in danger of dealing with applications in isolation of every other application. And so we face a real chance that we could well run out of money and we don't get a chance to prioritise, which is important. So
we've had this discussion before, and it was suggested maybe we just have 2 rounds every 6 months.
Yeah, I think that's good, because I think it really gives the community board a chance to look at all the applications, because there will always be more applications for money than what we've got, and then it enables us to actually be fair and just across the board. Whereas if we get them piecemeal like we have been, it doesn't help.
That means we only have 1 before the end of the trimester.
1 before the end of the financial year would be enough. Yeah.
And well, no, we'd only have 1 before the end of the trimester when we all have to stand again for election.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're happy then to leave it so we just have 1, Graham?
Does that apply to the beautification fund as well as our general fund?
No, we're looking at grants. I don't think you're talking about the beautification fund, are you, Alistair?
No, I'm talking about the community grants. Yeah.
Yes, just community grants. Yeah. Right, Alistair, do you want to propose that?
Yeah, look, I propose that we have 1 more funding round in this term of the triennium.
In September.
September's fine, yeah. If that's the date that the staff propose.
Do we have a seconder for that? Simon, those in favour? I'm happy with that. Yep, okay. So we're only going to have 1 funding round. They're going to take place every 6 months, and the next funding round will be September. Do I have a mover to delegate to the Chief Executive the ability to update the Greytown Community Board grant application form with funding round dates for 2022? Thank you. Alistair puts forward and Shelley agrees. All in favour? Thank you. Right. Now, we're moving to the election of a deputy chair. Do I have a mover to receive the election of the deputy chair of Greytown Community Board?
I may as well.
Thank you. Seconded by Simon. Right. Those in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. Anyone against? No, the motion is carried. Right, I'd now like to call for nominations for the deputy chair of Greytown Community Board. Alistair?
And could I suggest we perhaps hold this one over until Rebecca's able to join us? I'm sure she'll have some thoughts on it. It's probably not critical at this stage, is it?
Well,
It'd be nice to have the whole community board.
It's normal. I mean, we do have a quorum to make the decision.
I know we have a quorum. That's fine.
Yeah. I don't see why we shouldn't make that decision tonight. So that, you know, that we have the deputy in place.
Okay, well, if you don't want to hear her views, that's okay. Well, just I don't think it's that critical that we do it tonight. It'd be nice to have everyone here.
I just think it's fairly important that we get the deputy chair in place. What do other people think? Right?
Yeah, how do you feel about, because not having somebody to support you?
I think it's important to have somebody to support. You know, there are issues, there are meetings, and it's always very useful to be able to talk through issues and to have support at meetings. And also, in terms of the workload, if I cannot attend, to have the deputy to attend instead of me.
Yeah.
Can I say something? There is a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. I mean, the things that, you know, a deputy does, which they're little things, but they all add up in the time, etc. So I know that Anne is a very busy lady because I've seen it. And yet you don't see it when, you know, we come to meetings and things. It's all, you know, done. So I think that if Anne feels that she needs some support, we need to respect that. And if I may say so, can I just say personally that, you know, thanks Anne for your statements, and also to those of you who've been in touch with me personally before, for your kind, generous words. I'm doing this personally. I'm leaving this role, but I'm staying on the board. But I'm doing it because I have some important family obligations that have a very small window of opportunity to be completed. So I have to do it at this time. And I'm sorry for any inconvenience it causes, okay? But yeah, I support Anne in that, you know, she does need the help. We all do. Anyone who is in the chair needs the help. So enough from me, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah, I think, Anne, if you feel that you need to do this tonight, I think it's totally up to you. Yeah, it's you. If you need that support, I think it's imperative that we get it done. Yeah.
Forward. Yeah. However, do we have any suggestions for the deputy chair? Right.
Do I have a vote?
Yeah, of course you do. Yeah.
I would actually like to suggest Simone, if she's willing to take it on. Do I have to say my reasons, or can I just put Simone's name forward?
Well, give us some reasons.
Well, Simone is a well-respected person in the community. She is from a very well-respected and well-established family. She knows Greytown like the back of her hand. And she's also been a good member of our group, our team. And on that level alone, I think, you know, you two would work well together. And it's up to Simone to decide whether she would like to accept that. But yeah, I think Simone has the attributes that, you know, would be helpful to you. And so, yeah.
Graham.
I'll support Shelley's recommendation of Simone if she would like to accept that position.
Thank you, Graham. Simone, are you prepared to put your name forward for this position?
Shelley, you're too kind. But under the circumstances, yes, no, I'm here to support Anne. Yeah, no, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll
thank
take
you,
a
Graham.
vote then. Proposed by Shelley, seconded by Graham. Those in favour, please.
You don't need to vote in because there's only one nomination. You don't need to vote because there's only one nomination.
Okay, all right. Yeah, okay. Is there anybody who's opposed to the nomination? No, then fine. That's fine. Right, well, congratulations, Simon, you have now become Deputy Chair. 10.1, Officers' Report. Do I have a mover to receive the Officers' Report? Alistair, seconded by Graham. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Thank you. The motion is carried. Members, are there any questions or clarifications you would like to ask regarding the officers' reports?
I've got to find it on my thing. It's gone dark on me.
That's okay, we can wait.
Thank you. This is the action items, isn't it? The reports, yeah. Is this done on page 128, 129 that we're looking?
That actually is the income and expenditure report on 127, 28, 29. So you are looking before then.
Okay, can you give me a page number, please? Because it's hard on the cell phone. It's I didn't do it. So
84. Hard copy's 84.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
You know, like in future with one device, are we able to share screens somehow on here for all of us? Or is that not a facility we have?
I don't know.
Because it's really hard when you are looking on a phone to try and catch up with all this stuff. And I'm finding it quite frustrating, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
But if we could share a screen somehow would be quite good. Just a suggestion.
What happens at council, Alistair? I think you just have your own.
So like I'm watching, I've just got, I'm just sharing a screen. So I've got a screen right behind my computer. So I'm looking at you on my computer and I've got a screen right behind it. And I've just basically running two screens.
Yeah.
And that's what you do at council, isn't it?
Yeah, well, at council, we're all looking at our laptops while people are talking if we're around the table anyway. So no one looks at what's up on the screen. The screen is generally for people who are watching from outside rather than us, because we've all got our own copies.
Yeah. No, I'm okay with this. I was thinking of something else. My apologies. So yeah, this keeps going out on me, so that's why I have to keep going into it. But it was a good report. So yeah. Thank you.
Okay, there is the actions items report that follows this. I think you might be wanting to ask some questions about that.
Exactly.
Yeah, and there may be some confusion about that. But that is on 1 to 9. At the moment, we're looking at income and expenditure for the period ending 31st of January. Okay. The only point that I would say about this is we do have money at the moment. We've got 3,280.
Sorry, Anne, could we just finish the officers' report? The one I would like to highlight for everybody is the number of consents going through. So people are seeing look, it's a long document to read, but when you look at it, there's 25 building housing consents that are in the district. So just to $9 million. So even though building is becoming more expensive, the officers are still progressing and still processing a large number of consents. So when you're walking around town, people are going, Christ, there's a lot of building going on. Well, there is still a lot of building going on across the district. And this report is what highlights it.
Yeah,
that's true.
True. It's a good report.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Graham, any questions on the report?
No, I supported Alistair's comments. I know the building, not that I have very little to do with them now, but I did have just recently the building inspector, and I talked to him, and he just said they're just still very, very busy. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you get an indication of how hard the staff are working when you look at 52 land consent applications completed in time, 44 subdivisions, 22 permitted boundaries and things. So there is a lot of work, and our staff are working extremely hard.
Yes.
And they're meeting their statutory obligations to get in time. So pretty good. And you know, I know the building team get a lot of negative comments from time to time, but I think that, you know, they're showing they are working extremely well and extremely hard.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
No, that's good comment from Councillor Plummer. It's accurate capture of the current pulse and the work volume going through. We're over 500 consents. So, as Councillor Plummer indicates, it's a symbol, a signal of the in-house work that's being done. The multi-checking of stuff as things go through, and a signal for the ongoing development that's happening all around the place.
Yeah, that's true. Right, moving on to 10.2, income and expenditure report. If we look first at the personal and operating report, any comments that you want to make on that? Cobblestones did apply for 1,000 for their 50th anniversary celebrations that couldn't be held because of COVID, but they are hoping to hold a celebration in the future. So I'm suggesting that at the present time we leave that $1,000 there. You happy with that?
Yeah, seems to be all right.
I suggested that I meet with the Chief Finance Officer, which we agreed to. I had a meeting because I was aware that there was quite a lot of money in the beautification fund that had not been spent, which is true. So if you could look at that beautification budget. I'm suggesting that on the 5th of the 6th, 19, we put money aside for trees in the cemetery. There's $150 left. I'm suggesting that return to the general pot. 24th of the 6th, 20, in the flag track system, there's 1,312 remaining, and I'm suggesting that return to the pot. On the 24th of the 6th, 20th, there's a fourth set of flags. There's $127 remaining, and I'm suggesting that return to the general beautification fund. On the 5th of the 8th, 20, there's artwork for a second lot of flags, and there's 175 remaining, which should return to the pot. On the 10th of the 9th, 20, there's the purchase of a third set of flags. There's $369.50 remaining, which should return to the pot. On the 13th of the 5th, 20, there's the promotion and maintenance of the rail trail. There's $379.83 remaining, which should return to the pot. On the 17th of the 2nd, 21, there's the Anzac flags, which came in well under, and there's $1,035.30 remaining, which should return to the general pot. On the 17th of the 2nd, 21, Gina Jones' artwork was $60 under. That amount should return. 7th of the 4th, 21, there's the Matariki flags. There's $444.50, which should return to the General Beautification Fund. On the 24th of the 11/21, the Greytown swimming pool's mural came in at 1,120 under, and that also should return to the General Beautification Fund. 24th of the 1st, 21, we had a contingency for murals of 500. That can now return to the beautification pot. So we've over 5,500 to return to be used by the beautification fund. That's a lot of money.
And just for your, the 2 dog bins arrived today.
Oh, excellent. Bryce, can we discuss where to put them?
Yeah, we'll have a look at that this week or next week. Yep, no problem.
Excellent. You're quite happy for Bryce and I to decide where they go?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. I've talked over these with Katrina. She's quite happy with them. What I might do to help is I might actually send an email forward with these amounts, because I'm sure it's difficult for Caitlin to get everything down. But you're quite happy for that amount of money to return to the general pool for spending?
Yes.
Good. Thank you very much.
And do we need, I know we've got 2 new dog bins, and I see that we've got the triple recycling bins in town, in the centre of town. Do we need more of those around the town, on sort of north and south of the centre of town?
Dog bins or recycling bins?
Well, we've got those 3, the coloured coded bins. You know, there was quite a big uproar about them, of course, but they seem to have been used pretty well, I would say, aren't they, Bryce? From an emptying perspective.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, they are.
So
Yep,
they've obviously become quite popular. Do we need to put some more in, because we've got cafes north and south of there as well, and anything we can do to recycle and keep the town tidy, I think is probably quite good. That's what that beautification fund's for.
Bryce, how much did they cost?
I have a feeling they're about $12,000 for 3. They're not cheap.
That didn't come out of the beautification fund, did it?
No, it came out of my CapEx.
Yeah.
Solid waste CapEx for trying to get recycling down.
Okay.
I'll confirm with you in an email tomorrow when I look on that and see exactly how much they cost. Sorry, Anne, it was quite a while ago that I ordered them, and it's.
That's okay, Bryce. Do you think we should have another set?
Oh, look, the more recycling we do, that's what the world wants. And yep, the issue I have, Alistair, is just the health and safety of where to put them, and also the Heritage Trust. They got onto me a fair bit about that, and I actually had to put them down that little side street, which has worked out well. I still got a little bit of trouble about that, but at the end of the day, it's operational, and people want recycling.
Absolutely, you can take heritage so far, but at the end of the day, we still want to clean and tidy down.
Yeah,
we might have a nice heritage town, but if there's rubbish everywhere, it's not that pretty. So,
Right. Totally agree.
Okay, all right. Look, if we can look into that. Bryce, are the council going to fund it, or would the beautification fund?
Oh no, the council won't be funding it. I've used my CapEx. It'll have to be out of the beautification. I'll get them installed, and that's not a major cost for me, but I don't have that kind of funding at this stage.
Oh, all right, 12,000. Okay, right. Do you want to put forward, Alistair, that we're prepared to spend 12,000?
Oh no, I need to confirm with you. Sorry.
Let's get a price, but put it on. You asked for some ideas about what to spend our money on. I think that's one that we could consider.
We'll bring it back to the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. And I think we can now move to 10.3, the action items report. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Just before you carry on, you'll just need to receive the income and expenditure report.
Oh, thank you. Can we receive the income and expenditure report? Alistair, seconded by Shelley. All those in favour? Everybody in favour? Thank you very much. Right. 10.3, the action items report. Do I have a mover to receive the action items report? And the seconder, Shelley, seconded by Graham. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. Members, are there any questions or points of clarification that you want to ask, or updates to any open items? Shelley, have you an interest in this?
I actually, Bryce answered the question that I had about the dog bins, because that was something that we'd raised. And thank you, Bryce. That's all good to hear. I'm delighted. I know
it's like anything, Shelley. It's just taking time to get them made. They don't hold them; they have them made. So, like everything at the moment, just supply is difficult. It takes ages.
It was
Yep.
misunderstood, so thank you for that. And there was also one thing where there is Anita Williams brought the issue of the flooding, you know, the WAG, that flood management plan issue. And I have been in touch with her and also with John Boone, and you know, there's agreement to get together for them to have a good discussion. And I'm also meeting with Anne again at the end of this week. So we're keeping up that conversation. And there is an open segment there for Stefan to get in touch with GWRC about the implications for residents who may have an increased flooding risk because of the plan. So it's a matter of just we're keeping the conversation going. So that's just my wee update on that, okay?
Right. The only item I've got is 6, 7, 8, 10th of October. That is about the lines, painting a solid line, a centre line down West Street, Greytown. And the last comment is the 17th of the 9th, layout plans to be provided for the next meeting, but we've still not had those layout plans. So if I could ask that we could have those layout plans to the next meeting, please.
Can I ask a question on that one, Anne? Because it was funny you asked that question. I can't seem to recall where that came up from, and it strikes me that painting a line down the middle of one of our streets is hardly in keeping with sort of the sort of rural town, issue. You know, it makes it more of a city town, and it is a very wide street, and I'm not quite sure where the necessity for a line down the middle has come from. I'm reading the notes, and I can't. It sort of just came out of sort of nowhere, I thought.
This has been going on a long time.
It has been going a long time, and I just wonder, is it still what the people in Greytown want? It just strikes me that it goes against everything that the Heritage Society would stand for, and the people who like living in a little rural town.
Yeah, I don't think it is the whole of West Street. I think it's past the supermarket, that end portion of West Street where there has been accidents.
Mm.
I think it was something, Anne, that we inherited. I think it was there when we
It's been going since 17/07/19.
Mm. It's been around.
I wonder if it's something that, does this community board want to progress with it, or is it something we should perhaps take a little bit of advice from some people down West Street and say, is this really what you want?
It's about the intersection, the intersection that goes across from Beautification Street and goes across that way. And there have been issues about people going straight across. And
so then we're talking about a stop sign on Beautification Street as opposed to a white line down the middle of, because what we've got here is a white down, a solid line down the centre of Which Street.
This was the suggestion that came forward.
Because when you look at the action, it's provide information for painting a solid line down the centre of West Street. That won't stop people driving straight through Beautification Street through that intersection.
Recent traffic counts along West Street and increasing traffic volumes now consider flush medians between Beautification and Wood Streets, allowing for cycle routes and parking. Cost for installation will increase along with annual. Layout plans will be developed and tabled. Layout plans to be provided for the next meeting. Graham.
Whether it came out from a safety issue, I think if it did, I think we should approach the police and get their comment on if they consider that we need a solid white line or anything else.
Yeah.
In
I'm just concerned that we've had nothing. It was first raised 10th of October 2018, and 17th of 9/21 it says layout plans to be provided for the next meeting. So I just really would like an update on whether anything is happening and what is happening.
Russell?
Yeah, we'll get Caitlin to note that, and we'll follow it up with roading.
Yeah, from a town planning perspective, is that the best solution to what we've got for the town?
I wouldn't offer it under town planning. Sorry, Alistair, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Roading matter within the road zone.
Good pass.
It's the right pass. Madam Chair, I've just had a look at how much those bins cost. They're $4,880 plus GST for a set of 3, like that's already there. I got a bit confused because I ordered 3 times 3, so I knew it was quite high. So for each town, so yeah, the $4,880 plus GST. That was 6 to 8, maybe a year ago. So expecting probably 20 or 30% on top of that already, no doubt, with stainless steel. So you're probably looking around 5.5.
Right. Okay.
Plus just take away the just we can get that.
We did agree that we would provide them. So yeah.
Something to consider.
Yeah. Okay.
Location, I think, is going to be the important issue. Prices.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. It's no point in putting. You don't want to put them where there's no foot traffic. You're just wasting your time.
Yeah. Well, so sort of thinking, given that the park is what's the sellable park is getting more popular for picnics and things, having something in there is probably an appropriate sort of area to think about.
Yeah, we did think about that last time, Alistair, because there's a pedestrian crossing there, people crossing the pedestrian crossing with ice cream wrappers and stuff like that. So that is a good option because it doesn't really affect anybody as well. We could just plonk it on the grass in front of sellable park.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, I know that going onto the trail, the rail trail, there is the bin and there's also the bags. But most of the time when you go down there, there are no bags. Whose responsibility is that to fill up those bags?
On the rail trail?
Yes.
Won't be us. It'll be the Greytown Trails Trust, I'd suspect.
Is it?
Yeah, we don't look after the trail. It's all voluntary by the Greytown Trails Trust.
No. Okay.
We certainly look after the supplying the bags in town. There's some dog bin bags in town. That's our responsibility, but I don't think we do the trail.
So they might want to put in an application for an annual grant for doggy poo bags for the trail.
Yeah. Okay.
Could I then suggest what Bryce is saying? Could I propose that we approve the purchase of another set of recycling bins to go somewhere around that Stillable Park area?
I'll second that.
Right. Those in favour, please show. There we go. Right. Passed.
Okay. Thanks, guys. I'll get onto it.
Okay. She didn't have enough to do, Bryce.
It's just an email, mate, and just other stuff. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other items that you wish to raise? And I declare the meeting closed, and I thank you all for your attendance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Just before we leave,